unpack right now. He said to them, or Matthew wrote in Matthew chapter 13, verse 24, he says, he put another parable before them saying, pay attention. The kingdom of heaven, that is the kingdom that you live in, that if you are a follower of Jesus, you live in the kingdom of heaven. So everything Jesus taught about the kingdom of heaven, it should be important to your life. The parable should be important to your life. Let me say this again. You live in the kingdom of heaven if you belong to the Lord Jesus Christ. And if you belong to the Lord Jesus Christ, the parables about the kingdom are important to your personal life. Do you understand that? So he says he put to them another parable saying, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while his men were sleeping, his enemy came and sowed weeds among the wheat and went away. Pay attention. So when the plants came up and bore grain, then the weeds appeared also. And the servants of the master of the house came and said to him, Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? How then does it have weeds? He said to them, an enemy has done this. So the servants said to him, then do you want us to gather them up? But he said, no, lest in gathering the weeds, you root up the wheat along with them. This is so insane to me. But he said, no, lest in gathering the weeds, you uproot the wheat with them. Let them both grow until the harvest. And at harvest time, I will tell the reapers, gather the weeds first and bind them in bundles to be burned. My God. But gather the wheat instead into my barn. Now, I want you to pay attention to this parable, right? I want you to notice in this parable that Jesus tells a story about two farmers, okay? One farmer sowed good seed in his field. The other one comes behind him and sows weed in this field. Now, in the first century AD, in the agricultural world, his disciples hearing this story would be familiar with this kind of scenario. There were farmers who would sow grain in their field, wheat grain. And then if another farmer had beef or animosity or a grudge against another farmer, they would come at nighttime when nobody can see. And they would sow weeds into the field of that farmer. Now, the type of weed they would sow is only found mostly in the Middle East. It's called darnel weed. Watch. And darnel weed is a type of weed that when you sow it into the ground, as it begins to grow, at first it looks identical to wheat. So while they are growing, you cannot tell them apart. They are indistinguishable from one another. The wheat looks exactly like the weed. They look almost identical as they're growing at the same time. The difference is the darnel weed has poison in their roots. And you will not be able to tell them apart until they're both fully grown. And then once they're fully grown, you notice from the heads of the stalk, one is wheat and one is weed. But by the time they're fully grown underneath ground, they're too intertwined together in their roots. So if you try to separate them too early, you might pull out a weed and wreck a wheat at the same time. So whenever this happened, farmers would have to wait till the harvest, and then they will send their laborer to the harvest and say, now separate the wheat from the weeds. The wheat, they would gather all that bread and they would put it in a barn, a place of safety. And then the weeds, they would pick it up from the floor and they would throw it in a furnace. They would let it burn for fuel. I want you to notice in the parable that the man who sowed the good seeds, he said he sowed it in his field. That is, he took ownership of the field. I want you to notice that the seed he sowed, he called it good. I want you to notice that his enemy came at night for an opportunity and sowed the weeds among, watch the word, among the wheat. Not far away from it, among the wheat. And I want you to notice that they are growing together until a particular time. Are you paying attention to that? Okay. Verse 31. He put another parable before them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a grain of mustard seed that a man took and sowed in his field. It is the smallest of all seeds, but when it has grown, it is larger than all the garden plants. It becomes a tree so that the birds of the air can come and make its nests in it. We're going to look at that next week.